So we've talked many times about buying a home at the 200,000 level, and this traditionally is geared towards people who may be renting right now and wanting to get into the home buyers market. And we're going to talk in a minute about whether or not the market's going to go up or down and why it doesn't matter. If you buy a $200,000 house, if the market goes up or down, it really is not going to make a difference to your finances. It'll be good either way. But there's a great article that came out today in Motley Fool about something we've been talking about for years is buying now better than renting. And in the past, we've made the argument that sometimes renting is better because it's cheaper. But in this current environment where landlords and property owners are jacking up prices, demand for rentals is soaring, and landlords are hiking up cost, according to this article. And you may want to lock in a housing amount so that it's not going to go up in the future. And ask the question, should you buy a home? And really, once you do all the math, what's the right call boils down to, do you really want to own a home? And if you want to own a home, then any time is the right time to buy. Even in the housing crash of 2008, in the long run, most people made out okay if you kept your house. It wasn't a matter of the house value going down. Certainly some house values went down on highly speculative markets and highly leveraged markets where people had no down payment and they had teaser rates on adjustable mortgages or home equity loans. In markets where there wasn't as much speculation and the house price was low, in the long run there wasn't much loss. Most people got their money back in a few years. So what about a $200,000 house? Well, the way we look at it is, whether or not the market goes up or very unlikely goes down, you're going to be fine with a $200,000 house. Obviously, if the market goes up, you'll benefit in the market appreciation. Even a 20% increase over 5 years is going to give you about 260 or 270 of home value with compounding in that amount of time. What if the market goes down? Well, first of all, it's very unlikely the market will go down this time because there's not much leverage in the market, and mortgage approvals are being done very judiciously. The mortgage companies aren't just handing out home loans like candy like they did in 2004, 5, and 6. It's much more difficult to get a home loan. You have to have good credit, and the property has to have at least some kind of down payment. But what if the market goes down? Well, it's very unlikely that a $200,000 house is going to go down that much because it's at the entry level of the market where many people want to be. And even if it does go down over the course of a few years, net, let's say 5%, that's $10,000. You will very likely save at least $10,000 on rent over that period of time if you buy a $200,000 house. We've talked before where the mortgage payment, even with taxes and insurance, on a $200,000 house is about $1,200 in most markets. You're very likely going to pay closer to $2,000 for rent of even a 2-bedroom apartment in most markets. So you're going to save $500 or $600 a month in a couple years. That's going to equal $10,000 of savings, not counting tax credits, tax advantages, that kind of thing. So we always like to look at, well, does this help you if the market goes up, or even if it doesn't? Does this help you in any scenario? And almost always it does. Unless you are in a position where you're going to move around a lot in the next 5 years, then maybe it might not be a good idea to jump in. But you got to remember, landlords right now are jacking up rents, and there's no end in sight for that to happen, for that to stop happening. Some markets are seeing rents go up $500 or $600 every 6 months. Some apartment complexes are repricing their units every quarter, $300, $400. So if you don't lock in some kind of a housing payment by buying a house, you're subject to that going up with no limits. Most markets don't have any kind of rent controls, and if they do, they usually only apply to older homes or properties manufactured or built, constructed before a certain year. So buying a house can lock it in. Now, certainly, insurance can go up and taxes can go up, and those are variables. But in most markets, they're tied to the values of homes. So the only way your insurance could go up is if your house value went up, which would benefit you. Or the same thing with property taxes. So this was a really good article. We'll post a link to it in the description from Motley Fool, where is it time to consider buying? And it makes some good arguments for and against. But it does describe that if you are looking to lock in a housing cost every month, then buying right now would be a good move. Now, if the only reason you're not buying is because you can't find a home in your price range that you like, well, either change your price range or change what you like. At least if you get into a home, even if it's not exactly what you want right now, if it's 200 or 210 or 220, at least you're in a home and you can fix that up as you see fit. You can go to Home Depot and spend $80 on some paint. You can, a couple months later, you can spend $150 on some molding. You can fix things up over time to make it how you want, where your landlord's not going to have any say in how you want your property to be.